increasing their profits. Please remember, companies license profits, they do not license ideas. So we need to have an audit of our technology and IP portfolio, identify who our customers are, and qualify those targets. Because not necessarily every identified customer is your right target for you. It has to fit between their business needs and the technology. In today's high technology, the competition is no longer between the products. It is a global skill-based competition. In a high technology business, products are transient mechanisms through which companies and organizations drive value from the market and market drives value from the organization. Today every product is a multi-technology product. Look at your smartphone. How many technologies are embedded inside that? In today's fast-changing world, no company can keep all the technologies at the cutting edge. Even if they want to do it, the time and money is simply not there. So every company keeps certain core capabilities and rest are acquired over the best available in the world. So today there is a market for components of the knowledge. What we require is integration capabilities. And then only we can bring a new product to the marketplace. So we have to know our customer, think and act like a technical business person, link technology to business strategy, communicate clearly at the proper level. Very often I have seen communicating at R&D level doesn't work. As a scientist, we are comfortable talking to scientists in the counterpart organization. And that is where we hit what is called NIH syndrome, not invented here syndrome. R&D in the company is a difficult job. Go to the management and say, here the technology acquired. They are afraid that management will ask, why are you there for? You go and talk to corporate planning group, new business development group, they are not suffering from that syndrome. It's much easier for them to take your new technology to the management. Be open about risk, cost and timing. Involve your R&D partners in planning and every stage of decision making. At the same time, don't oversell, overcommit or overpromise. And don't expect all great ideas to find a customer. I already told you, very difficult to displace existing technology, existing capital. And then don't try to keep on selling if there is no customer. Move on to the next. And don't be defensive or arrogant. Very often we feel, we are dealing with DuPont, we are dealing with GE. They are 200-year-old innovation company. We are a small lab in India. But don't be arrogant. Sometimes say, I have a US patent. Where else they will go? I want $5 million. Don't take such extreme stands. And don't overteach science to non-technical customers. You are likely to put them off. And for my industry friends, I find a few of them are in this audience. If you want to use national labs effectively, look at them as idea generators or providers of new concepts. Don't look at them to buy off-the-shelf technology. Seek their commitment to work closely with from concept to commercialization. Scientists are a window on research, not only in their lab, but also their field of expertise throughout the world. They integrate these national R&D resources with their overall business strategy. And the labs, if you want to succeed, will require a top management support. Because none of these activities require dedicated team efforts. Unless resources are dedicated and management is committed, we will not be able to make progress. We also need to create mechanisms to validate these claims, because biggest challenge is validation. Scientists claim a lot of things. Let me tell you my experience of more than 3 decades. Not necessarily all claims are valid. And if you don't, you are going to fall flat. The need for an efficient project management. You will show some quick results to your industrial partners to establish your credibility. So start in a small way, deliver, and the performance will build the confidence. And very often you have a lot of internal conflict resolution, because within the organization, value system will be based on the papers, just patents, versus products may not be receiving that much importance. So internal resource allocation requires a conflict resolution. And finally, all of us who are involved in this activity, we have to market ourselves within the laboratories. We have to create our own credibility within the organization. Our scientists have to believe that we can bring value. Only then an outside peer group in the industry will value what we are trying to say. With these few words, I wish this workshop a great success, and I hope you'll be able to deliberate on many more issues and come up with some recommendations. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity and for patient care. Thank you.
Dr. Hirwani, for this first inaugural address, inaugural session, and we'll break for tea. We are already running a little late. The tea will be of 15 minutes only, not right? Sorry to push you a little, because we are already doing very bad in terms of time, and we hope to catch up. Friends, we are now in the first technical session. While in the inaugural session, the tone of the workshop was set. In the next 4 sessions, we are going to deliberate on the technicalities of the matter. The first session is on technology transfer models, and let me introduce the 3 speakers to you. In fact, Dr. A.S. Rao is on the way, thanks to the Hyderabad traffic, but we are certain that he will reach us in another 5 minutes, but we'll not wait for him. We'll start, but just a brief background of the impressive set of speakers that we have. We'll start with Dr. N.V. Satyanarayana, who is the Chief Scientist and Business Development Head of IICT. Dr. Satyanarayana started his career with National Meteorological Laboratory, where he spent 2 decades and has been a key person in understanding the nonlinear mathematics of blast furnaces, and has developed several software models based on that. He is, of course, with IICT for the last 1 decade, and he has several interesting incidents and stories to tell us about technology transfers that have happened from this particular CSIR laboratory, which has an impressive history of technology transfer itself. Then we have Dr. A.K.S. Bhujanga Rao, who is Director and Head of R&D, Natco Pharma. Natco Pharma, as you know, is a very reputed pharmaceutical company based in Hyderabad, but having operations all across. So he will give us the industry perspective and how industrial R&D visualizes or sees public sector R&D, and what are the problems he faces, what are the issues he faces, and so on and so forth. And following that, we will have a talk by Dr. A.S. Rao. Dr. A.S. Rao is a former DSIR scientist who was instrumental in the setting up of a very important program called TEPP, Technology Entrepreneurship Development Program, and he will enlighten us on what kind of models work, what kind of models don't work, based on the vast experience that he has. So I'll call upon now Dr. Satyanarayana to deliver his talk. If it's okay with you, we'll follow this model, 20 minutes of talk by each of the speakers, and then we'll have maybe 15-20 minutes in which we have Q&A for all the speakers together. Is that okay, sir? Does it sound good? Right. So let me call upon stage Dr. Satyanarayana to make his first presentation. Yes.
Good morning. I have a PPT. Can someone help me with that? We talk of technology transfer models. There's a good amount of theory that you find across the web. But then what I thought is, without actually looking into what is there in the web, let me draw something, from my own experience of, having worked in some technologies, transferred some technologies, and also looking at the various dynamics when it comes to a transfer of technologies. And when you talk of these models, there are a good number of paradigms. Okay, but then how good are they? At the same time, there are many conjectures that people come out with, but then at the end of the day, some say that it is only the intuition that works. There are no models as such. So that's the reason I have named my talk as technology transfer, paradigms, conjunctures, and intuition. Okay. Now, being a scientist myself, basically, I look at it, the technology transfer process, right from ideas to the product, as a transformation which involves R&D, technology, and then finally, converting it into a product. And as a scientist, you always believe that it's the phase when you're actually trying to transfer the ideas to R&D. That's the time when you need to actually run around and then do a lot of hard work. Okay. But then coming over to a different, or change in my line of activity, I realized that yes, indeed, you do have to run along when it comes to transferring ideas to R&D. But then there's much more that you need to do when you're actually transferring it, or when the transformation happens from technology to a product. So I thought I'll just briefly share some of my experiences. The next one, please. Okay. So before we talk of technology transfer, let's understand what is technology development and what type of blood and sweat that it takes when it comes to the development. Especially technology development definitely needs sustained efforts. Because if you look at the curve from the level of technology performance from high to low, okay, it takes some time. Okay, and not only time, it also involves good amount of investment that should go into it. After the initial euphoria, for the scientist has that he has seen success, that's when the trouble starts and there's a gap. Okay, where you need to take it to the next level. So that's where you find the resources have dried out. Your DST money or your CSR money or some money, the government money is not there. And how do you take it to the next stage? So that's where you need to look at the industry. And industry these days is coming forward to look at such promising technologies and then take it further. So that gap has to be met by academy, industry, research, interaction. Okay. Now you also look at the various stages, right from basic research to the research application and product development. Earlier, people were only there's a huge boundary wall between basic research and what was known as application research. But these days you find that increasingly the industry is also coming forward, and then also, if not funding the basic research, but then definitely it is coming forward to look at the research application part of it. And we do have good number at IICT. We do have good number of industrial clients who help us with the applied research. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay. This is, from my own understanding what we mean by technology transfer. Well, this slide is actually meant for me so that I understand, what technology transfer is. But then, as I said, I realized later part, when I moved, I changed over my line of work. I started, looking at it that, the most of the running that you need to do is not during the ideas and R&D, but then mainly during technology transformation period. That's where, you need to do all the running. Okay? But basically, technology transfer is, people do understand it as, the technology development part is by the government and the universities, and then it's only later that, the industry would step in. Okay? The next one, please. So generally, one of the definitions or one way you understand it is it's an integrative process, no doubt. Okay, by which a concept or an idea is recognized as invention. So first thing, it should be an invention, and you must assess it for its commercial potential. And once you look at the commercial potential, you need to have a protection. So you need to have an IP going with it, and then try to look for markets with the hope that it is commercialized. Okay. And basically, when you talk of technology transfer, you look at IP rights that are licensed in the form of agreements, and then not only that, you need to communicate and then see that the dissemination actually happens. The next one, please. So you have, an investigator at one end attached to maybe a research lab or a corporate R&D. And then whatever he invents, he goes to the patent office that helps him protect the patents, the IP, and then after that, transfer to the commercial entities. So this, in a way, is in a nutshell what technology transfer is. Okay. But then you also need to have a technology transfer model which has which looks at sustainable development. So for sustainable development, apart from technology acquisition, you must also look at the skill development. How good are you in adapting the technology, and how good are you in disseminating the knowledge that you have gained. So if all these things are done, then your product efficiency increases and you have long-term competitiveness. Next one, please. Now we must also look at at what time you actually look at transferring the technology. Is there an opportune time? Okay. Well, if you just look at this technology growth curve, it appears that the middle phase is the one that is more attractive, and people will be there where you'll be able to transfer the technology. Whereas the other two ends, you hardly find any people to whom you can transfer the technology. Okay. But then if you are looking at as a business model and then try to look at opportunity everywhere, then you also find that during the initial new invention phase, that's where you can catch up, you can talk to some startups, some entrepreneur, and then try to transfer the technology at that stage. So you also have business models wherein you can transfer the technology during the new invention phase. And once you have the maturity phase, that's where you no longer look at the startups or big players. You look at the MSMEs, SMEs, okay, because they don't have the wherewithal to do all the type of R&D. They want ready-made stuff. So the ready-made stuff is available. Transfer it. So that's where you try to transfer it to the MSMEs. Next one, please. Now, as I said, there's you have a wide range of paradigms going, with the type of technology that you would like to market. Say, it depends on the market segment, whether it's a manufacturing segment, services segment, IT segment, or infrastructure segment. For all these things, you cannot have a common sort of model which will be successful everywhere. Similarly, you must also look at whether it's a product technology that you want to market, or whether it's a process. Okay. And more importantly, you must also look at to whom you are actually transferring. Okay. Whether it's totally a pakka commercial sort of entrepreneur that you want to transfer your technology, or you also have someone who's ready to take risk, or is it a startup? So depending on this, you need to design business models for them. Okay. The next one, please. And one other thing that you need to look at is, when is it that you would like to transfer it? So how ready are you? The technology readiness level, whether it is at pre-proof of concept or post-proof of concept, lab scale, pilot scale, or as a commercial scale. So I'll just briefly talk about these things a little later. But then you must also look at the other model wherein there's a technology push or a market pull. Okay. So this is one area you can see, and then try to find out if there's an opportunity exists depending on type of business that you're actually doing. Okay. So we have a case study on the real-time process simulator, which we sometime back we developed it for when I was there at National Metallurgical Laboratory. And then you also look at the R&D solutions, because the industries, Dr. Bhujangra would agree with me, are also looking at not fully grown technologies, but then they're also looking at R&D solutions, and they come to institutions like IICT. So the institution, the solutions that we offer often become attractive when we give a total solutions, right from lab scale to commercial scale. So I have a case study there on hydrogen hydride technology. Then we have integrated solutions. That is one product leading to another. You are looking at only one product. Can we look at backward integration or forward integration and come out with a host of solutions that I can offer to the industry? Again, there's a case study there. Okay. Then these days, industry no longer looks at you as when say technology transfer, it doesn't just look at the document. They want to come and partner with you. Okay. And be a partner of the innovation that is happening in the industry. So this is one attractive